business development service ecosystem is something that we spent decades. I personally had been global business developer for the last 20 years. In the blockchain space for the last 9 years. I built like 300 plus businesses. So I have obviously my opinion about how business development advisory have changed from the beginning of the time until today. And I'm sure you too spent more than a decade in Web3. So you have your beautiful opinion to share today with me. Please maybe start with introduction to yourself, just very briefly.
Sure, thank you, Valeria. Currently I'm a partner and a CBDO of TheBlock. We're a consulting firm out of Switzerland, and we're supporting companies from all over the world with bank accounts and access to financial institutions internationally. But overall, as you said, I'm in consulting business for the last nearly 15 years. And I was building the consulting companies from scratch, and actually I was even happy today that we can have this one-on-one talk on the topic, because I remember a long time ago in Ukraine, we were sitting in Kiev and having absolutely same conversation about the challenges that we were facing in scaling the consulting companies serving businesses internationally at that moment. And it's really a pleasure to get back to the same talk and update our opinions on what changed, because also we're kind of pioneers of Web3 industry in Ukraine. That moment it was not a Web3 even yet, so we were that OGs of blockchain space, hanging out with engineers that we had to understand how to explain anything to that technology-focused people about the real world where they have to set up their businesses.
Exactly. I would call us as translators for the developers who understand their product but definitely unable to communicate it properly to the world. So that's why the business development advisory was not as a consulting, but we actually, like, this is something that I want to jump on the questions if you don't mind. So let's start with the questions. I prepared a list of them so we can open up that topic in details. So advisory in blockchain, do you remember, it started with the reputation and the network. I remember the times, do you remember 2017, where advisors was just the face on the pitch deck, and the network they can bring. Nothing to do with, servicing or anything. You and me, we were acting as a business developers. We were building from scratch with founders, like hands full of blood and tears, building it all together, business side of the business for the dev product. That's what you just mentioned. So what does real advisory mean beyond the reputation and access for you, from your point of view?
I think first of all, it's about the experience and the daily exposure to the challenges that companies are facing in the space. Because having the network itself without understanding that daily problems that they are facing is pointless. So it's always a combo of that network that you have and the expertise. Again, in the past, I was providing the legal advisory to the companies, and I switched to business development years after. And I'm, hearing very similar questions, but with the different question mark. In the past, it would be, what is the best jurisdiction to register your crypto company? Now I'm receiving the questions, what is the best bank to open the account with for the same type of businesses? And there is never one solution for everyone. And that's exactly the thing that is usually confusing the business owners of our clients. Because usually they could find the information, right, that here's the list of the best jurisdictions for today, or here's the list of the crypto-friendly banks, but you never know where would you get in 1 or 2 months as a founder if you choose this or that path. And that's what we're working hand by hand with our clients and they're going through this journey together with us. And sometimes we can just apply the same experience to the similar type of business, but we have to collect a lot of information, analyze all of it, and include our experience. So I think this is the main thing.
From my side, I would say execution, because I was a business development agency owner. I built businesses and scaled businesses and literally was fully involved in execution. For me, advisory was never consulting. It was all about dive in and deliver. And I was fully like high value, executed everything from scratch, building from scratch. And for me, advisory, that experience that you have mentioned, it only comes when you literally go all the paths from 0 to 1, together with all the founders, going through all the different paths where you take responsibility for the outcome as well. Because advisory without the responsibility is just consulting. You just say, but you don't take the risk. You don't take any responsibility for the outcomes, the results. So for that, for me, execution is like number one characteristic, and that's something that we're gonna discuss even further, because I believe, like, I spent 9 years being an executor, and I learned hard way when I have an agency, which literally was outsourced service. I have my own agency for 5 years called Visioneer, where we build businesses. We support Websh3 founders to become investment ready for the venture capitalists to invest. We build the whole business side of things, and I learned the hard way, when you do everything for them and they don't do it themselves, they don't have a muscle to go further when they fundraise. That's another thing that we can touch the point. And then I also learned when I have my SaaS platform, which is Get Funded Network for 3 years. We have 1,000 businesses, we have mentors, we have service providers, we have VC firms who were there who were there to supporting founders with all the resources. Like, I literally build the entire ecosystem, right, as a business developer for them to follow. And we support them in their execution, right? We support them in checking how investment ready they are, with VC analysts. Then we help them with Startup Booster education system. Go study, we are there with you. Then we give them outsourced services, just like your firm does exactly the same, where you build for them spots which they are incapable of building for themselves. That's why we've been, all of us. And then, okay, you fundraise, what's happened next? And that was a Get Funded ecosystem that I built around as a business developer advisor. But what I learned, yes, the execution, I returned where I started, that execution is a muscle that has to be built by the founders themselves. And that's why, through Get Funded, I want to push them to go through this whole process alone, rather than outsource, pay somebody for this, and then you failed when you're facing the reality. And right now, with AI's world, like AI era, everything can be done quite fast, right? Strategies can be generated by ChatGPT and Claude, Perplexity. A lot of research can be done by AI. And the second question is, like, where business development advisory stands now, considering pitch decks can be built by AI, financial models can be built through AI. Where do you think we are standing at the era of AI with our advisory today?
Yes. I think that artificial intelligence is a great help in our work. And I think nowadays, if you don't use AI, you're missing out. But it's all about so I use Claude, I use ChatGPT daily in my work, but it's still never giving that perfect result. Sometimes I would work on the articles or posts or anything, but it always requires that final touch from a human being still, because it doesn't have that daily communication with client. It doesn't understand their pain. It cannot give you that final decision on anything. So it definitely helps to move faster. It definitely helps advisory businesses scale, but it still cannot replace whatever we're doing. Especially, I would say that, if we're speaking specifically about business development, which requires the communication. And you can find the contacts of people that you want to meet always with some through online platforms, right? But then I don't know what about you, but I think everyone is receiving like million messages per day that are AI generated, and then you receive it because they're sent through the AI platforms. And I think we went, it's like going up and down the situation right now, where we first were kind of spoiled with the opportunity to send the messages ourselves, to reach out to people. And now, when it's too many of that messages, you still have to go to that conferences, you still have to build the in-person communication, you still have to meet people, communicate with them, and receive the real information about what they're going through, and then give a feedback on that to your clients.
I agree. Nobody can. AI can't show up and show their faces at the conferences and literally present themselves. That's a very good. I would believe AI still lack of judgment, as you mentioned. Like the answers are never correct. They can generate you tons of different strategies, but they never have responsibility to guide you towards the right one, right? And I think advisory is all about, as you mentioned, it's all about execution, it's about speed, it's about reducing risks, and AI can't do that. AI don't take responsibility for the risks or end result, right? That's another thing which I believe are very strong points to take. And we are, as an advisors, I think right now there's gonna be an era of advisors who not execute as we used to, completely, but who guide towards success. Because everyone, especially I speak with venture capitalists, VCs, family offices, they always say, we want to invest in founders who have capacity to execute. And if they don't, they don't, right? And if you have all outsourced advisory who build everything for you, you don't have a muscle to execute it further. So they're not interested to give you the money. And that's why advisor who can guide you, who will be with you, but as a guidance, not as an executor for you, I think that's a new era, which I believe. And for that matter, we can easily mix together the AI, as you said, for lead generation, research, discovery, all of that can be, done super fast with AI tools. But at the same time, the advisory itself should be the person who, like you and me, who went through, 3 crypto winters, COVID, different market fluctuations, who can understand how to react towards different market shifts and can guide the founders to the right results. And we are the one who, committed that we create that plan for them, and we kind of guarantee that they're gonna at least give some sort of a guarantee that they achieve the results. Otherwise, you are blindly going, wasting time and money, as usually the case. We were there in the beginning. Do you remember, as a business developer, where we have to learn as we go? But after 20 years, you can clearly say, hey, market goes this direction, you should do X, Y, that. It comes with an experience, just as you mentioned. So, do you believe advisory, business development advisory, gonna be like firms or like AI ecosystems in the future? Or, like pure AI avatars? What's your take on that?
Truly saying, I have no idea. We will see. And we will have to adapt to the situation according to the changes in the environment around us. because we don't know yet where that technology can reach. I think it's a very similar thing to what we already discussed, and like getting back to the execution, it requires the personal touch for now. And also, but by the way, like my point of view on the execution and involvement of the team is slightly different.
Please share, that's important.
Yeah, because I think it depends on the size of the company. I believe in your practice you're mainly dealing with the startups.
We used to, yes, was our seed, round A, round B. That's it. That was our target audience. Yes.
So I'm also dealing with institutional companies, and in this case, sometimes if they don't have, they're already proved the world that they're good in the execution. They're not raising money, and they just need to offload a part of their work to someone who has enough expertise to deal with that. So I would say that startups definitely, like in the past, I would be even scared when the founder would come to me, ask for an advice, and say, whatever you decide, I will follow. That would be for me like the ringing bell about the potential problems in the future communication. But at the same time, right now, dealing with the larger companies is definitely a different situation where they just are looking for someone who can take a part of the work and just do it without their involvement at all.
I agree. I also have an experience working with corporations and also with family offices who have, portfolio of startups who they already invest money in, and now they have to literally improve their performance, and they tell Valerie, now come in please, help them to move forward faster. And at the same time, corporate, as you mentioned, they want to job be done, and for that, yes, fully execution advisory make total sense. My question was, what clients are ready to pay for today as an advisory? Can you share what you think for reputation? Do you remember PricewaterhouseCoopers advisory cost millions of money? Now it's like going down because nobody want to pay for the brand. Everybody want to pay for the speed. So what's your intake of that?
I think it really depends on the company, because I met many times in my practice when companies are ready to overpay for the big four consultancy, and they're just scared. Like, first of all, not every business will have time to do the due diligence of the potential consultant. So when they have money and they don't have time, they would go to someone who is expensive and who has name and the reputation. In cases when the money is limited, that's where the small consultants are getting there and then growing with the clients together. Because rare case when the large company with a huge budget would go to a small advisor and look for the consulting there, right? In this case, usually you would go and start advising the small medium business. You would build the relationship with them, and then when their financial abilities are growing, your paycheck is growing too.
Yeah, I would agree. I think my observation where the market goes, why I build Get Funded Network, because I want the whole entire ecosystem, like all in one place. I think that's where we are heading. I think nobody wants to have, 10 different advisors on marketing, on legal, or business development, blah, blah, blah. Everybody wants somebody who create the infrastructure where you come and you have everything all in one place. I think that's where we're heading. That's why we have the service ecosystem.
Like, as an example, even in the kind of apps that we're daily using, like Kareem and all of that, they're becoming super apps because people are getting into that flow. And companies already learned very well with behavior analysis how to keep the user inside. So I think that's where we're also leading with B2B services, where the companies would go to one provider through their online journey and would be still looking for the other advisors on the same platform.
Yeah. I think right now the Hubble. Do you remember that mentorship program is quite booming right now because you have direct access to different advisors with an experience, with like all the traction. You can check who is doing what, and this is perfect place ways to find the right support whenever you need it without any constraints, like without any membership or, like just on as you go in a way. If starting from zero today, what would you build as an advisory?
I think the format of our advisory and consulting is fluid, and it's changing literally every day. Like, I don't know, the tools I used a year ago and right now are a little bit different. Something stays forever there, but something is changing. And because of that, I don't think that if I'm starting something new, it would be like my methods would not be very different from what I'm using right now. But I think we just have to follow our skill set and the best thing that we can offer to the markets.
Yes.
And according to that, build the services, build the products, and maybe consider converting our consulting businesses into the product companies. I think
that's what
you already tried that journey. It would be interesting to hear your feedback. We're also now scaling our consulting into developing a bank. So the launch will be pretty soon, because we also realized that consulting is exhausting sometimes.
Yes.
You endlessly look for the clients, you provide the services, you kind of get that completion, but and satisfaction from the completion. But at the same time, there is nothing that can continue working without your presence there. You can just delegate to the other people, build the agents, whatever, but it will be still same cycle of the interaction with the client. Same time, if you're converting something, if you're in that consulting journey, finding something that can be converted into the product, that's where the real opportunity is.
I agree with you. I was an advisory, so I was fully in execution most of my life and building businesses. It's exhausting. Building business along the way, having an agency, I can say it's very hard to scale and it's a lot of work. Troubleshooting all the time, 24/7, 5 years long. Then I have a SaaS platform, which is an entire ecosystem, which also deliver different parts, which combined all the advisory system together. Right now, I think we are moving towards AI product, as just you mentioned, and I move as well myself, where I think it's going to be a pivot version of what I have been doing all my life, where I educate and support and guide through AI solutions. I think that's where we're heading, in my opinion, and that's why I'm going to give it a try. So that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions to me from your side?
I think we covered the current situation of the market right now. It's been a real pleasure to have a conversation with you.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much. Thank you.